Welcome, everybody. Welcome to tonight's psychic seminar event. Let's see where it takes us tonight. Welcome. We start in 2 minutes from now. What a beautiful day it is. It's been a gorgeous day today. The energy is really starting to increase with a lot of incredible awakening. I've seen it over the past 2 or 3 weeks. Before that, I was a little bit kind of disheartened, but I am starting to see lots and lots and lots of people really truly grasping the possibilities of such conversations and topics that they would never touch upon. So I was a little down for the past couple of 3 years, but I'm starting to recognize it through walking around, listening to conversation. More conversation is great. I'm hearing stronger conversations of that there's something wrong, so it kind of lifts my heart a little bit. So there is some hope that a few more people in the world are recognizing not everybody's an automaton. Sometimes feels like that. So I guess a couple of questions that came in. We can start with that in a minute from now, and then any questions that you'd like to put to me tonight with regards to anything to do with your spiritual path, your awakening, how you feel that you'd like to move forward in a spiritual, a psychic, a healing level, any subject that you'd like to talk about, whether it's crystals, any kind of tools. I tried to share some tool information was it yesterday, so hopefully you've got quite a lot of tools to be working on. Yeah, welcome everybody. It's now 8 o'clock. So I'm going to begin with the first question, which is put to me by Sally B. And it's a great question with regards to psychic attunement and a path of psychic awareness. She asked me, what's the overall opinion of your work for 12 years on the psychic path and those who want to walk that path? And it's a great question. The psychic awareness is within all of us. That's something that I absolutely know 100% through working with people who did not believe at all in the psychic phenomena. That is a gift that we all have. It's in us all. I'm talking about you guys. Not there's people out there who don't have it, and that's another story. But the story I'm talking about are those that come into your life who truly want to heal and they want to be a better person. Okay, because the ones that are not like you and I don't walk that path or don't even want to look at themselves or attuned to that energy of love, kindness, and healing and strengthening and all of the things that make us who we are, where we come from, which is, I believe, a beautiful ocean that I call the spirit world. So within this spacesuit, you and I, sometimes something happens and is quite beautiful because it does two things. One, it makes you realize that there's more to life than eating, drinking, sleeping, and working. There's something else, and I can't explain it, but something's just happened. And the second thing is it kind of shows us that there is something else, something within us that maybe we didn't see. And that's something that I believe is some kind of either protection or block. And how that happens, I believe, is that not to get into any conspiratorial discussion tonight, but I believe that we come into this world and there's major factors of why things happen to us that, as all of you know, that children have amazing intuition, a great connection to the spirit world, until it's beaten out of them physically, emotionally, spiritually, depending on what goes inside, what we drink, what happens to us by abuse, by people and things. So the older we get, the more it's beaten out of us. So it's there, it's absolutely there, but there's a wall around it. So what I noticed, not only within myself, which was quite incredible when meditating and going to circle nights and finding that beautiful inner peace and breaking down the walls of all my pain and suffering and trauma, saw it in my clients. So I could have, big grown guys who didn't believe in any of this being led by the hand by a beautiful wife who wants them to experience a healing session. After that healing session, they may not say a thing, and they go home and they start opening up to their wife, telling them that they saw things and felt things. And that was a regular occurrence for me. And I found that fascinating. I thought, yeah, I know that because I've been through that. Or, oh yeah, another client went through this. So the psychic experience it's there for everybody who wants it. The problem is, if you were to ask me, out of all my clients and all the people who have ever come here to learn, there's not that many people in truth who follows through. And if you know me, if you've listened to my work over these years, over these 10 years, you'll know I've always said to you that I don't like the idea of people saying that I was born with this gift, because there's so much ego in that, and they don't truly understand what they're saying, and they're not really attuned to the spirit world. Because if you truly knew that the gift that you hold inside is equal to the gift that everybody else holds inside, then you wouldn't say that. It's like saying I can breathe. I've been able to breathe since I remembered I was 5 years old. I can remember I was breathing, right? Yeah, so does everybody else. And I've done many a course where I've taken people who believe that they have no psychic ability and proven in a room that psychic ability is within all of us. And we attune to each other day by day. We feel each other day by day. Our thoughts are attuned to each other. Sometimes we recognize it and sometimes we don't. Why does my doggy turn round in a circle before she goes to sleep? Because her parents, her grandma and great grandma and so on, years and years and years and years ago, was wild, and in that wildness, they didn't have a house to go into. They used to have to find places to sleep, so they turn and lay down, and it still remains inside her, even though that she doesn't need to do it. She does it every night. She scrats and does that because it's something that is within her memory, DNA, whatever you want to call it. And I think we all have the same. All of us have that same connection to when, I don't know, many thousands of years when we may not have communicated in the way that we do, in this physical way, this mouthpiece way. Maybe we connected in more of an intuitive way, a psychic way, and thus I believe that in time we ended up, becoming speakers, and we ended up not really using that psychic ability that we all hold within us. So the point, in fact, that I'm trying to make, what this lady asked me, is that for, say, 4 or 5 or 10,000 people who came to me on a 4-day healing course, or a 4-day intuitive course, or a 3-day tarot course, or whatever courses I was doing to learn, there was only 0.0001% who actually moved forward and continued the work. And the reason why that is, and it isn't something that, you can like, point to and say that's wrong. No, it's not wrong. You choose the path that you wanna go. So we learn different things and we choose what feels right. And if we have the time in between, I actually remember telling you guys a long time ago that there was one woman who was in her, I think, 50s, and I'd never felt such amazing energy. She was able to attune out. She was tuning out, and she was receiving better than me by about 80% better than me. So everybody was being blown away by this lady from Ireland. And it ends up that I was so excited thinking, this lady's going to outshine me in a week, and she's going to be the number one healer in the world. I just know it. And she took me to one side and she said, I don't have time to do this work all over the world. She said, I've come here because I've got 2 autistic children that need my attention, and I came here to learn healing to give to them. And I'm thankful for it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. So it's not that I'm saying like shamans, a lot of shamans won't choose anybody, and they might choose one person to work alongside them if they feel that they're good enough. For me, it's not about that. For me, it's about there's only 0.1% of people who continue becoming psychic or a healer or a tarot reader because of circumstances. And a lot of the times, I would say 90% of the time, is because they want this gift and they want to swallow it like it's here and now, and I don't need to do anything else. I've got it. And I don't understand that, because for me, when I first entered into this field of work with my first mentor, who was the Psychic Queen of Ireland, and she was on the phone to, FBI, talking about ritual killings and saying where the body is. And I'm like, I was really interested, but I didn't want to do that. And what I wanted to do is follow the path, what felt right. So I started learning the tarot card, and I started learning energy healing and feeling people's energy. So remember that when I started doing this, I was going to a circle night. I was going to Shirley's spiritual and psychic night once a week. And I was working in a little shop, and I had angel cards to begin with. And I was doing angel readings with healing sessions for free of charge I stopped doing free charge work after 3 years, but there was 3 years where I was just doing free work, right? Because I had a business, so I could do it without charging anything. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of people just think it's something that you can switch on and it stays on. But for me, psychic work is something that I've explained. It's not that it takes up a lot of energy, but you have to go through certain things, and you have to clear certain things, and you have to do certain things, and you've got to have to do it day after 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 day, and people just don't have that attention span anymore. I'm sorry to say, guys, but most people just, you guys are on here, there's 150 people on here, out of how many? Out of how many who come and go? There's probably hundreds that just listen, say, this is bullshit, or give me something strict. This isn't exciting. I want, and their attention span is like a fish, and this is by design. This is by design, because you can never really achieve a mastery without focus and commitment and constantly working at it. So I often say to people that one of the things that I used to say is, don't tell me anything. and I used to get angry. And the reason why I wasn't angry with them is that I wanted to prove to myself that I could do the psychic work, that I can feel and I can attune, and I'd feel happy that I attuned to it. I give you a great example. I don't do, my first mentor wanted me to do out of body work, okay? And it's not something that I wanted to do. It didn't interest me. However, I can do it. I have to clear my space. I have to clear my body. I have to go into a place of sheer stillness. I have to have the right music on. And it takes, I mean, now it's a little bit easier because I've been working at it, and I can go into meditation very quickly. I can go deep into meditation. And I don't know if I've ever told you the story. I went down for some counseling because my ex-wife, when I was with her, said, maybe you need some help. So I went down to this guy, and he stuck loads of probes on my head, and he said, do you know what meditation is? I says, oh yeah, I know what meditation is. He says, do you want to try and go into it? I said, yeah, sure. Closed my eyes. And after I'd finished, he said, I've never seen anybody go into meditation so quick. He said, you went into meditation, into the place where it takes him sometimes 30, an hour and a half. Took me a matter of moments. So I don't know why, other than that I went to circle nights. I learned to still my mind when we were sending healing to people, which I didn't really know what I was doing. Therefore, it was constant work. And therefore, what I'm trying to say is that the psychic work, it's in my opinion, for me, my story is that I have to clear everything away, the debris, the thoughts, the feelings. That's why I won't work if I'm not well. If I'm not well, I won't work because I can't do the work. Yes, so going back to the day that this lady was distraught, she came in with I think she came in with a partner. They both sat down, didn't normally do two people, but they were distraught. So that, I understand this. I've got an animal, but the cat's gone missing, and the cat is like means everything to them. I understand that. The beautiful cat, four-legged friend, and she says, "Please, please, please." I said, "I don't do these. I don't do this." And she says, "Please, anything." So I closed my eyes, put the cards down, put my hands over them, and started feeling things and looked at the cards, and then I closed my eyes again and I lifted out of my body and I found myself just flying through the clouds. And then I stopped and looked over what looked like three bins. It was, if I can remember rightly, it was a yellow bin, green bin, and a grey bin. And I said, oh, but I'm like, oh. And then I saw a cat which was a different colour than the cat they told me about. And then I saw their cat and I says, oh, your cat's okay. I said, go look round where you live and go around all the bins all around where you live. And she says, oh, there's only three places where we drop our bins. I said, your cat's at one of them and the other cat is protecting your cat. And so they went and they called me back and they found the cat. It was by the bins with this other cat. So that was really nice. And she wanted to bring me stuff and give me stuff. I said, I don't want anything. And she was so thankful and like, I didn't want anything. She was wanting to give me money, more money. I said, no, it's a job. And I didn't even know if I got it right. It felt like I'd got it right, but I don't want you saying anything, and the reason why I don't like people coming and trying to praise me when I did the work is I didn't want people to think that I had that gift, because when they came to me, they then thought that they were going to get this amazing psychic, and I didn't think I was amazing. I just thought I was average, and I just thought I said nice things and I gave them information. I thought I was not bad at healing, but I just, and the other thing is, my second mentor said, just watch ego. And I said, I've seen it already. I've come into the world of psychic and I've seen the ego. So when people talk to me about psychics, I when somebody is egoistic and they're forceful and they say, and they attack the client, or they become more powerful than them and say, no, you're wrong, I'm right. And ego comes into it. They're not psychic, because I wholeheartedly believe that ego cannot be connected to true psychic energy. So the ego is actually the killer of the psychic ability. You've got to clear the ego away, and you can't let it in. So a lot of people who go into the psychic world want to be famous. They want to be the best. They want to be special, better than anybody else. And thus, that's not the reason why you come into this field of work. So these are the reasons why I share this with you, because people, often ask me, how do you become a psychic? What do you think about the psychic world? I have trouble with the psychic world because I think there's a lot of people who are not psychic who claim to be psychic. And actually, we're all psychic, but when they're claiming to be this special person, and, I just struggle with all of it. So I struggle with it within myself. So one of the reasons why I left this work is because of the reason of, not wanting to be known as a psychic, because it's just a bullshit word. And we're all gifted if we can clear the negativity away, in the sense of the fear, the worries, the suffering, and we can strengthen ourselves by clearing the ego, and then not having let's say, again, my best psychic work was when I never felt pressurized. So as soon as somebody pressurized me, it was hard for me to get back into the psychic world and that energy. So these are the things that I talk about within the psychic world. Practice for me made perfect. So every day I practice cleansing, clearing, healing, working on myself, working with the cards, working with people, and just growing in a nice, steady way. And compliments, I didn't want compliments because I wasn't doing it for compliments. I was like, do you feel better? Yeah, okay, see you later, then be on your way. And I teach that to everybody who comes here. I actually kick the clients up the arse and make them go out. That's how I used to show people who come to learn. Right, your client, right, kick them up the arse, get them out of the door, and move on to your next one. Don't think about it, just move on to your next one and continue working. Because the psychic world, the healing world, the end result always works out for itself. It speaks for itself. You don't need to tell people what you've done and how you've done it and how great you are. The psychic work speaks for itself if you're actually really a true channeler. So that's kind of partially my take on the psychic world and healing work. And that's why I don't think that there's many people who were like me and a few others, because I spent every day doing it constantly, and nothing else mattered. No other jobs mattered, just this work. And 99% of my focus was on the work. And sometimes I didn't put my focus on my family because I was so focused. Like, I'd be having dinner with my wife then and my daughter, and the phone would ring, and it'd be somebody from LA, and it's somebody famous, I've got to go. I went through that stage where I felt I had to do this. And now, I don't care who you are or how famous you are. It means nothing. You still, I soon realized that they're the most challenging people, and I'm not going to put my life through that. I'm not going to hurt myself anymore from these people who think that they're famous and try to make me feel that they're above me and that they shouldn't have to pay and all. I've been through all that nonsense. Won't stand for it. And I learned pretty quickly. What I'm trying to say is that I spent a lot of my life in the sacrifice of the work that I'm doing, because it felt like the work that was my path and journey. So that was it. So I was very thankful for my daughter and for my wife then, that they understood the sacrifice that that they made to allow me to do the work for people to feel better. Because a lot of my work was where people were not wanting to live anymore. and there was messages always came in saying, I don't want to live. And that was like, okay, well, let's make you feel like you want to live. And on a side note, I don't know. I think I've mentioned this story before. I was asked by one of my clients, and she knew. I thought she knew me quite well, and obviously not, because we was. I think we were just down here, bar. Anyway, we're at a bar, and she wanted me to meet somebody, and basically, this person wanted to pay for me to leave Spain and work in another country where they were setting up a clinic. I don't know how many millions it would have been, but it was a clinic that people could go and take their life. And you know, although I don't judge taking life. If you want it, I don't judge, but I'm not going to enforce somebody and encourage them, or stand there and say, oh, this is okay. No, I'm going to try and help you see that life is worth living. And so I told her and the other person where to go. What I'm trying to say is that the work that we do, no amount of money should ever come between your ethics, what you believe is right in your heart and soul. I have clients who come to me who lost a child, or clients who come to me because they can't have the child anymore. I literally had women who have been abused by a stranger and now they're pregnant and they just don't want the child. I'm not there to say I'm there as somebody who's trying to help you through that moment as the best I can. And I'm here to hold your hand. Whatever you decide to do, if you've got cancer and you're going to go to a mainstream doctor and you're going to start doing all the things that they want you to do, I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to work with you through everything, whatever you decide to do. Don't ask me what's right and wrong. I'm not here to judge or to tell you what's right and wrong. Whatever you feel that you have to do, follow what that is, but I'm going to be there to hold your hand and help you. So that's what I felt was a good psychic, somebody who doesn't take sides, who doesn't bring their own personal opinions into it. And that's very difficult for a lot of people because, you know, I think it's hard for people to do that. And I think maybe that's what made me not a bad psychic, in the sense of working with people without judgment and just helping them as best as I can. So that's the psychic world. That's how I kind of work. Has anybody got any questions at all thus far? Anything that you'd like to ask at all? It's a little bit warm in here, isn't it, Lily? Does any of that sound plausible? Does it sound unacceptable? Does it sound? You're free to ask any question you want. Okay. I just wanted to see if anybody's got anything that they want to ask about the psychic work at all. Question: best way to connect with guides, find out who they are, names. Well, the way that I connected to my guide when I first started was by visualization is the next best thing to astral travel and out of body experience. So I found a comfortable place and took myself out of my body, took myself up and away. It doesn't have to go up. You can go any side. You can go anywhere you want. But as I took myself to a place, I walked myself to a place, and it's what I do to this day if I need valuable information to connect with somebody. So I take myself on a long path, and then I see green grass, and I see a big tree, huge tree, and it's my spiritual tree. I go to that tree, sit down, and just wait for somebody to come round, because the tree trunk is so big. Even if you put your hands on it, you couldn't put your hands on it to go even on a curve. It's so big. It's the biggest tree trunk. and I just sit down in between the roots and just meditate. And if somebody comes round, I basically, they sit with me, and then I feel them, and oh, okay, it's my mum. Or I had this lady who came forward, and she presented herself, because while I was sat there, all of a sudden my scenery changed at the front, and there was a pond, and there were white lotus leaves, and this woman walked out who looked Indian. She had Indian clothes on, and she presented a white flower, lotus, and she said Shanti, and I thought that was a name, but then I found out later that Shanti meant something else. I think it's peace. So I ended up sitting with her, and I actually got so close to her over the weeks of doing my psychic work, and she was helping me with my psychic work, that I felt, this is how stupid it was, but how intense it was. She was sitting so close to me, and I'm like, hang on a minute, are you starting to have feelings for me? Are you? And I'm starting to feel guilty because she's coming really close, and like almost like she's wanting to put her arms around me. I'm like, no, I'm married. And she backed off. She literally backed off, and it was like, yeah, it was strange, because anybody else would look at that and think, this guy's crazy. Like, oh, this guy or this woman married a ghost. I don't know about any of that, but this is how I felt. And I actually said to my guide, please, I'm married. So that was kind of strange. But yeah, she wasn't, Cleopatra. She wasn't. I didn't understand any of that. That's why I say there's so much ego in this field of work. Why is it that everybody around me were talking about that their guides were high priestesses, and they worked with crystals, or they were gods or goddesses, or they were high this and high that. Mine was an Indian lady who was just a normal Indian lady, nothing special. And I'm like, and then I realized that there was a lot of ego in circles. And look and then I found the same thing when I went to meditation classes. Everybody would talk about their meditation experience, and it'd go from seeing a white dove to somebody else seeing three, wolves and a dove, and then somebody seeing 5 eagles and 16 monks, and it'd get bigger and bigger, and people, they were so huge in what they saw, and it come to me, and I'd go, I didn't see anything. And everybody was expecting me to outdo everybody, and I just put everybody back down into their place, and they felt, and I can see I made them feel terrible because their ego was so big. And there's a guy here that's meant to be this super psychic. Like, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel much at all. And they would all like feel terrible. And I'm like, well, good. I'm glad you don't feel good, because you didn't see those things. You're just saying it. And I know when somebody's exaggerating. I can see it. It's not that I'm smart. It's just I can see when people talk bullshit. And there's a lot of people who are sad, lonely, and they want to be loved, and they want to be recognized. And the psychic world seems to be so much of a magnet that draws a lot of people who are in a bad place and a lonely place. But I used to do circle nights, and I created something that I thought was really beautiful. First of all, nobody would speak, so I wouldn't let them. I'd give a talk to start with, and I'd do a healing session, and then I'd give another talk afterwards, and then everybody would give each other a cuddle, and they'd go. Now, the egos would come and then never come again, because they never had a chance to tell everybody how wonderful they were. The people who came for healing, and came to listen to the message that was given from me. But I realized that my message shouldn't just be me, so I would get different people to come and talk as well, even though people used to get upset. And they did, and we hadn't come here to listen to other people. And I'd get upset with them and say, but there's not just me who's got a message for you. There's other people that I want you to listen to. We don't want to listen to anybody else. Well, that's not right. We should listen to other people. So, That's how I feel anyway. I'm not here. I'm not calling people. I don't want to sound bitter. My first mentor was bitter. She used to call the spiritual people most of them fluffies all the time. They're all fluffies, and I'm like, yeah, there is a lot, but there is some lovely people as well. Come on. And then she'd say everybody was a liar and everybody was not psychic, and they pretended because she was kind of bitter that she wasn't famous anymore. And I like, I didn't like that neither, you know. So, any more questions? What does that say? In your opinion, Matt, what different healing do you get from trees as opposed to flowers? Wow, that's a good question, James. Maybe healing from trees, messages from flowers. I don't know. Well, this is a really great question because Mother Nature, Mother Earth is connected to. This is how I feel anyway. I feel like Mother Earth is alive. So my mum is Earth. So so the soil, the rocks, is my Mother Earth. So if a crystal's attached to a rock, I call it Mother Stone because that's the mother, and the crystal is a separate entity. So Mother Earth grows trees and grows flowers, and they're all different. They're all different energies, but my mum is the floor. She's the earth. So each flower has a frequency which is different from others. And I came to understand colours through flowers. And that was through my first mentor. You can't see her from behind there, but Shirley taught me colours and what colours represented by way of what they represented to me. She never forced colours on me, but we would sit by flowers, or she would bring flowers and we'd do flower readings, and she'd ask me, what do you feel from this flower? What do you feel from that flower? And I'd get different feelings from each flower. And then we'd go into Mother Earth and we'd do it there. What do you feel about Mother Earth now with this flower? And I'd feel a different different energy from them being alive than them being cut, but there was still a residue of life within the flower. So I understood that, like with through, there's about 30 minutes life force. With a flower, it lasts a little bit longer for some reason. I don't know why. And it can last like a couple of days, and you can still feel the energy around the flower. It's still alive. Through is a magic half hour, then it dissipates. So with flowers, it was like if now, or a few years ago, I used to take my clients out and we used to go flower hunting, and then I'd say choose a flower, and then I said, don't pull it out, leave it in, and we'll go and sit with it, and we'll do a flower reading with you. And then I'd do a flower reading. I get far more energy from the flower being in there, and the message I get from the energy of the flower, which gives me being able to attune to my client through the flower. And then there was like, wow, that's just like me. Oh, that's what I'm going through. And it's within the flower, because everything has a message. So every flower has a message for you. Every fruit that you eat has a message for you, whether it's a message of what you need to eat because your body needs to heal from it, or a flower gives you a message as a spiritual message to what you need to come to fruition, to flower, to blossom, to bloom. So trees, for me, have ancient wisdom because they're there longer. It just makes sense, really, if you think about it. So trees listen to 1,000 conversations. A flower's only there for so long. So a flower hasn't that. For me, if I'm sat with a flower, I don't get the download that I would do by a tree. And a tree has a lot more energy, but a different energy. A flower has less energy, electric energy, but you can still subtly get messages when you're around flowers. That's the real only way I can describe it, but both phenomenal. And I actually wrote in a book about sat with a flower once, and I was in meditation, but I was still looking at the flower at the same time. And all of a sudden I heard a noise, and I looked, and the flower jumped up. I could literally see the flower jump to life. So it didn't have much life. It was alive, but now this flower's like, it wasn't dancing, but its energy was like, hey. And then all of a sudden, I don't know whether this was real or not, but I actually smelt the flower. I could smell it. And this noise was getting closer. And this noise was a bee. So the bee was buzzing. The flower heard it. I'm looking at the flower thinking, this is weird. The flower's actually calling, and it's spraying smells for this bee. And the bee went, I swear to God, the bee came over, and there was like, it was like, I guess it was like making love. That something magical happened just in a split second, and the work was done. It was incredible. So I think we as human beings, right? I've come to understand that the physical, it's difficult. I can't really explain this because part of me wants to say that we're not really from here, but we are. It's weird. I can't really explain it. It's a dual energy that I get because I've tried to write about it and I have to stop because I'm in confusion, because I saw what I saw and people don't see it. And so many people don't see that trees are needed and they cut them down, and we kill the bees, and with animals and with flowers, they live together in harmony. Everything's harmony. There is no destruction. There's only human beings that cause destruction in this world. You know, if we left this world, and animals would just get on, and they wouldn't, in my opinion anyway, they would live in balance. But we've got greed. We need the power. We're never happy. We cause destruction. We don't really love Mother Earth. Well, you do, of course you do, but I'm talking about the majority. They don't even think about Mother Earth. They don't even think about what a flower looks like. Just cut it and give it to somebody. There you go. So it's difficult for me doing flower readings when people bring them, because I don't really want to cut flowers. But, you know, I'm living in a world, and I don't want to end up being like a secondary smoker, like I used to smoke. Now I hate everybody for smoking. I don't want to end up like that. So I want to try and live in a balanced world, but it is challenging sometimes. And when I see Mother Earth and how it's being treated. So, yeah, and look at me. I have all these things which, you know, causes harm, and I've got a table here made out of wood. So I'm a hypocrite. I'm like all of us, you know. So I beat myself up a lot of the times. But, yeah, a bit like psychic work, really. So there you go. That's as much as I can tell you about my opinion, James, on energy of trees. Are phenomenal to work with and by. You've got to find your right tree, though. You've got to go on a mission to find the tree. Not every tree will give you what you need. You have to find your tree. And that's amazing when you open up to try and find your tree. Hey, Mark, any recommended courses for psychic development? I can, Alex. It's very, very difficult to recommend psychic courses because I don't know any psychics per se. So I couldn't say, honestly. And I wouldn't want you to waste money or get upset. That's why I don't recommend psychics mainly, because people get upset and say, you recommended this person, they were shit. And I'm like, really? Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't recommend. So I do a tarot course, and it's an online 10-hour tarot course. And the reason why I did that is because it's not like you become psychic at 10 hours, but it helps you feel comfortable working with cards, and then you get attuned to it. And then you might do a psychic reading on a friend, and then they'll go, wow, that was amazing. And then you feel happy and think, you know, and it's so little steps. Going to find circle nights, find healers who send absent healing to people. That's beautiful. I was just blessed. I came here and all of a sudden I was dragged to somewhere thinking I was there to sell some bracelets, and it wasn't. This woman must have seen something in me that she thought I'd like being at a healing circle with Danish people. So that was so lovely to sit there, and yeah, it was really, really nice. That was the start of my work, but it takes time. So don't ever not try things, but if you feel an inner bad feeling, walk away. Walk away. Walk away. Don't sit through it. Walk away. If that feels bad, there's a reason why your consciousness is saying get away. So, just because I've walked away from lots of places. No, thanks. Not for me. And that really upsets a lot of psychics and spiritual people, because you're like, do you know people used to walk out of my event? I never got upset. I'm like, good for you. You know what you want and what you don't want. It didn't mean I was bad. It just didn't resonate with what that person wanted at that time. So, people like I used to do these beautiful shamanic circles, and I thought, oh, I'm going to try one at a show. And I created one, and I had my blinds all around so nobody could see. So they'd come round, nobody could see what I was doing, and then I'd do it, and then they'd go. The first person who came sat down. After 5 minutes, she got up. She says, "This is a waste of time." She walked off. Oh, and then the next person who sat down was a beautiful soul who ended up becoming a pure energy healer, and she works now in Marbella, and she does great work, and she was crying her eyes out while I was doing the work. So it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. Everybody, people are stopped because they fear of you're not good enough, or you're bad, or you're not bad, and you are good enough. It's just breaking through that. It's quite a deep question for me, and it's not something that I worked along shamans. I was never really taught from a shaman, but the shamans that I work with, I was always curious, so I would always watch and work alongside them and see what they're doing. But that kind of gift work, I couldn't do that work. I mean, I've seen things that are just absolutely blow me away by some shamans, and yeah, just incredible. And to the point where I'm like, this person's a trickster, and it's a trickster. And then when they'd finish, I'd be getting the stones and trying it, couldn't do it. Get the sticks, whacking them together, see, where's this energy coming from? Couldn't do it. Swords as well, and like, nah, it ain't trickery. There is energetic work that they work with. Just like you can meet people who, like, I have hot hands. I don't know why, but I do. So when people come to me, they say that they're on fire, but yet to the touch, it's cold. So it's strange. Everything's very strange. It's like not what you think it should be. Sometimes I can be using my hands and they could be on fire, and sometimes I can use my hands and they feel like ice. So energy and working with energy is incredible. But sorry, to answer your question, I don't really. I would love to be able to talk about shamanic work, but I don't really know because I was never taught. I was shown a few things by shamans. I watched a lot of shamans work, and I utilized some of that practice in my own work, and yeah, worked great. I kind of didn't need to ask them anything. I was watching and seeing the energy work through them. And some were really good shamans, some were just complete liars, and some were in a bad place, so their work wasn't as strong anymore. So again, a shaman, a human being, somebody like you and me, just normal folk, we're all kind of shamans, really, depending on what we want to do. And I don't see a shaman as superior or better. It's just that they've done the work, and they're doing the work every day. So if you want to do the work, you got to do it. But most people don't want to do the work. They want the magic. They want, how many days is it going to take? Well, that's not what it's about, mate. It's not about how many days it takes. It's about wanting to do it. I mean, I used to get up in the morning and I had a smile on my face for the first time. Why? Because I found something I enjoyed doing. Would I even ask how long it was going to take before no, make it as slow as you can, because I want this to last I swear to God, right? This is the honest to God's truth. One of the most common things ever said in this academy was, On the third day, I don't want it to end. Mark, I don't want this to end. Right? Now that is, well, and I'm saying, well, hang on a minute. You take this energy anywhere you want with you. I sit with them and look at them all and say, you know, on the last day, I'd sit everybody, I'd look at them and I'd just say to them, just stop for a minute, okay? Just close your eyes for a second. I just want you to be aware of something that you're not aware of. The door rings this morning and yesterday morning. You, or one of you, gets up, you go to the front door, you open the door, you smile at your next client, you greet them with all your heart, you give them a cuddle, you ask them to take their shoes off, to be comfortable. Would you like to go to the toilet just before we start? They go to the toilet, you bring them in here, you lay them down, you give them the most beautiful healing session. They're crying, they're snoring, they're in this beautiful place. Then you give them a card afterwards when they get up. You leave them to feel what they want. If they want to speak to you, they will. If they don't, you respect that. You give them an angel card. They're now even in more tears. They're feeling amazing. You give them a cuddle. They get up and they walk out of that door. Just think for a moment. You have worked in a beautiful, beautiful academy. You have been the healer. I have not interfered. You ran this place all on your own. Just think about that for a moment. And they'd all start crying because they realize, yeah, we did. You didn't interfere. You never told us what to do. We actually have just run this academy and you run it well. And they look, and the healing that you did, you can do that anywhere you want to do it. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. I don't know. I went off on one there. Sorry. Could be. Yep. Amethyst. Beautiful crystal. Thank you, Danny, for being here tonight. Yeah, Lemurian is a beautiful crystal. I've worked with lots of Lemurian. It's the first ever piece of Lemurian I was gifted was on a stick given to me by a shaman many, many years ago. So I used that for opening the third eye. And it worked for, I don't know, 8 years until I gave it away to somebody as a gift. So Lemurian has worked with me. It's a very powerful crystal. I think the shamans all over the world have used Lemurian, and I love the energy of it. But for me, it's great for opening the third eye. So every time I get Lemurian, it's like third eye. So, but yeah, love it. Okay, Peter, nice to have you here tonight. Do you think it's possible with pure energy healing to retrieve lost or blocked memories due to trauma in a person? Every time you do a healing session, it's so surprising because you don't know what you're going to trigger, what you're going to release, and what you're going to heal. So every client, so if I've got 10 clients that day, every client is going to react different. And I found that the less I tried to focus on doing something, the more something happened, because the focus tends to be with the mind, right? But if you're working intuitively, you don't need to think about anything. You're guided to exactly where you need to go. And the work is being done by, I believe, this intuitive connection that you have. It's like, you know, if you feel your child's not well, you'll go over and touch them somewhere and give them healing. It's the same thing. So you know, unless you are somebody who works with past life retrieval, you know, these people who work on clearing this through other practices, I don't know anything about that, but I'm sure a lot of, is it Brian Wise and all them? I know a lot of my clients who went on ships and did seminars with this guy who wrote loads of books because he worked on his receptionist or something like that and cleared lots of issues that they had. But I also cleared a lot of issues with people who had vertigo, who had severe nightmares, who had huge, terrible headaches or tinnitus. And, healing is healing, and you can work on different levels, on a level of you trying to speak to that person and help heal him with them that way. Or my way is to shut up and get on with it. I'll find it and work with it. So I believe that every person is different. I don't do anything until the client's laying down, and then I go into a kind of meditation, and it takes maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I'm doing the work, and then I'm being pulled towards certain places, and then afterwards or in the middle I'll get the information what I need to do. But I don't really need to talk to the clients about it unless they want to talk about it, because the work speaks for itself, and the client goes and then they'll ring up and say, or they'll come and see me and say, the severe headaches that I've had since I was a child, like they've gone down by 50%, or I don't get them hardly at all anymore, or whatever the issue is. It could be that somebody has terrible trauma and that we clear it out because they realize that the trauma's been blocked, and I'm healing the head, healing the stomach, and next thing, and they start crying, and then they open up and say, I now know why this happened to me, and I saw it clearly. So there's so much a healing session did. That's why I think it's so powerful. A healing session for me, if we could open the doorway to healing sessions for children, I would say that we would stop most trauma, most bullying within a year for that group of children, but they won't allow it. It won't be allowed because they know it works. They know it works, and they won't allow it because ego is so big and darkness is in control. So they won't allow it. Ego is, it's got to be done in this way or no way at all. So look, my issues, big issues, have gone through healing. They've gone through learning to heal and heal somebody else. They've gone. I haven't had a severe traumatic IBS attack for years and years and years, and yet I had them from 12 years old till I started doing this work. Stopped. So I know through my clients that their issues, when they came for healing, they slowly but surely went. Sometimes they'd go in one session, or sometimes it'd take a few months or a year, but we'd work through it. So nothing is in writing in healing work, because every single human being has have different baggages, traumas, and sometimes you can tap into past life trauma as well that they didn't even know. So all of these things are accessible when you're doing healing. Can we clear? Well, one of the hardest things for me was clearing outside, because my understanding of using sage is that when you confine the sage in an area, it does its work. After 1 hour, 2 hours, you can open all the doors and windows, and whatever the sage sucked out of the walls as now in the sage, and then it's gone. So I used to try and sage land, and I used to do blessings on the land, and I used to use sacred water, sacred mist, and I'd do all these things. I had some hits, but my main work was inside houses, not outside as much. So in houses, in churches, in every building you can think of. But outside, not. I mean, I had some great hits, but not as many as. I mean, inside was. I'd got it to a T inside. I knew exactly what. But outside, and it might have been me. It might have been my thought that, well, it didn't work at the beginning with a little sage stick. So if I'm outside and I've got a little stage sick, I'm thinking it's not going to work. So maybe my thought had something to do with it. I don't know. There could be something hugely involved in that. Just like I've spoke to you as well about psychic readings. I am very careful what I say in psychic readings because I feel, right, there is no space and time. Because I can feel your past, I can feel your present, and I can feel your future, which means that there is no space and time because I can see it all. So if I can see it all, that means I can change your future. I can change it. And sometimes I it's not out of ego. It's not out of ego. I've just read and said it. And then sometimes I've often wondered to myself, just seeing it and saying it, did that change the future? Because if I tell you that and you believe it enough, you've just changed your future. We've just done it by saying it. That's why I say, if I'm sat here and I'm a pure evil person, and I say to you, you're going to die in 80 or 60 or 62 years old. If you believe that, then you've just now changed your future. And if you believe it and keep believing it, then there's a good chance that you're going to die at 62. You're going to make yourself die. You're going to shut down all your body. If you've got the power to do that, then surely you've got the power to live till you're 106. I say you're going to live to 106. I see you living to 110. And thus, you don't start thinking of age. You don't start thinking you're going to get old. And you start living your life and thinking, I'm going to live till I'm 106. So this is great. I can do anything that I want. And now you're creating. So there's something in the power of words and the belief in words. That's why I say that black magic, curses, voodoo only work when you believe in what they've just said. But actually, the trick is that they've tricked you into your own power, so that your own power has now caused the destruction. Well, I did it the other way around. I kind of felt, could it be that I'm seeing this, and I am seeing it? I'm not making it up. I'm seeing it, but could it be that you are actually creating your own future? And I believe there's something in that as well. So we're going a bit deep now, but yeah, that's kind of like my feeling. Yeah. Salt. Somebody said salt. Yeah, absolutely. I used to use sea salt for outside. Absolutely. And I used to use rice, but then I stopped using rice because I didn't want birds to eat it. And because 2 birds died when I did it once outside. My client said, I've got a couple of birds, and they ate the rice. So that was the only thing I could think of. And I thought, oh, I better not do that. So I would actually go around the house for the inside of the house and put rice all the way around the house. But then I'd sweep all the rice up and then throw it away. Any more questions? Hi, Mark. Hi. I'd like to know your opinion on numerology. I don't really have any. I don't really know anything about it. So I'd love to be able to share my wisdom on that, but I don't know. I do find it fascinating seeing numbers all the time. And then I actually sit down and ask the spirit world, or I ask my higher self, what does it mean? And I do actually get messages via that, just like I get messages via colors or words, like from a book. Same thing, eh? Words from a book, and like, wow, I just felt that. And sometimes I can feel it in numbers as well. But I'm not the best person to ask. Any crystal suggestions to raise your psychic energy? There's absolutely tons of. I think most crystals work on that way because they cleanse and clear you. But you're looking at crystals probably on a higher level. But then I've said that before, and then some crystals are not really for that. But then you have to work on a higher level to clear. Like a great example, I guess, would be Cavensite. You want to clear throat, third eye, and crown chakra. Why? Because you're clearing away past issues, which could be to do with pain and suffering, and you need to forgive. And once you've done that, you're on a higher frequency and level. But depending on what you want to tune to with the is that say physical energy? Physical. Sorry, I've got dyslexia. Physical energy, depending again, suggestions on raising your physical. So again, whatever on an individual level, Chris, it depends what's keeping you low, and could it be food? Could it be your environment? So there's so many things that are happening, especially now, mate, because now I've got to be careful what I say, but we are under attack with up there with Musk's stuff, down here, which all the companies have put these towers everywhere. And that's, you've heard my opinion that this is one step away from switching to a higher frequency to then it becoming a weaponized system. And I think systematically they're switched on. And Dominic said something really scary the other day from Sheep Farm. He told me that fiber optics are now running off 4+1G, so that means it's below, it's around, and so we're living in a toxic soup, and that is to dumb people. That's to make people feel bad. It's the lowest form of energy to dumb the humanity down. And I believe wholeheartedly, right? And I said it, and I've said it for years. That's why I keep getting shut down from it. I heard a lady who got kicked off working in a hospital, and the video was up, and then I couldn't find it again. So I thought, oh, there's something in this. And every time somebody was coming in claiming to have what they said that that everybody had, she was finding high radiation levels within them, and that resonated like nothing. Everybody else, like, I'm sorry guys, this is truth because I feel it, and I work with intuition, and I know when somebody's saying something, and I believe it. So at that point, I put the pieces together and thought, you know what, he's right. And the first thing I went to is Barry Trower, what he used to do in the 1950s, 60s with microwave, and what they're using now, and how they had to lock things away because it was dangerous and stuff, and what they're using now. And for me, my belief is that people are getting sick not because of what they say it is, but because they're in a toxic soup of microwave or this energy. And what happens is your body can only cope with so much. So it's trying to clear that energy or that disruption in the body, in the cells, and it's pushing it out. It's trying to vent. It's trying to clear. So what people would say is, oh, I've got the flu, is, yeah, you have got the flu, but you've got it from this energy. And that's why I believe we're under attack. But hey, I'm not going to be able to leave this up now, am I? I just got another, yeah. I mean, they're after me all the time, guys. They're just waiting for another reason to take me off completely on here. So I have to be careful. But it's hard because I want to just speak the truth, but it's difficult. But I'm just going to show you something so you know I'm not bullshitting. I know you know. I know you believe me, but sometimes it's good to show you as well. So I'm just going to click on that. So I don't know if you can see that, but that was today, this morning. So basically, again, they're attacking me again, and this is why they're attacking me. The video was called this: what we are is what we eat and think. So they're attacking me on me talking about food now. So yeah, it's difficult. But anyway, stop moaning, Mr. B. It is what it is. Sylvia had a question. Okay. My last try, Mark, I have issues going to cemeteries. Yeah. Bloody hell, don't we all? I was at the cemetery the other day when I was in England to see my mum's grave, just to clean it a bit and tidy it up. Yeah. So, how can I protect myself from the residue? Good. When I get home and feel gross, yeah. Sage and selenite, yeah, it doesn't always clear. No, I've started to really like what's it called, Vesuvianite. And there's another one from Burma now, the green one from Burma. That's beautiful as well. I've got a mind block. Yeah, but you're just going to have to keep trying different crystals, which work with. See, for me, the energy of cemeteries is low. People go there grieving, so everything's suffering, everything's pain. So yeah, it's like I can't go. I went to a shopping centre just before I came here tonight. I was there for about 8 or 9 minutes having a key cut, and I ran out as quickly as I could. I don't like that energy there neither. So I just cleanse. I use my sticks. I squirt myself down with water, purified, blessed water, and yeah, I often have a shower and use salt water. That works really well. Um, Going for a walk in Mother Earth, sitting down by a tree. There's so many things you can do, and then you can work on yourself by meditating, putting right music on. Yeah, saging is one of the best things that you can do. But for me, I try not to put myself through the trauma of things now, right? So, I won't go and visit somebody who makes me feel bad. I won't go and visit. I won't go to a pub. I won't go to a cemetery unless I have to, arm's length, small doses of people that I don't know. So I try and, I know it sounds awful because we should be spreading and loving, but at this moment, there's a lot of suffering going on. There's a lot of people in a bad place, and my energy is what I need to be able to serve you guys when I do this work. So I don't want to compromise that, and plus I don't want to feel bad, and I don't want to get sick. So I don't suppose I've answered your question, but um, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Life is life. We can't stop picking up on bad energy. It's there, and it's just something that we have to deal with and become stronger. And by eating right, by doing, what? Okay. Well, cancer for me, the most, like this morning, I sent off to a beautiful soul. She's very, very beautiful. Her dad's not feeling well right now and thinks may have a tumor. So I sent 4 bottles of Don Tolman's oil to rub on every 2 hours, and I sent a Sleeping Beauty to wear around the neck. Sleeping Beauty is a kind of turquoise, but it's a very special place. They don't, the mind's closed down, and it has a very, very, very strong frequency to, I believe, my opinion, that it helps in some way or another. That's the only thing I can say, but I have to be careful what I say. But I've seen it help people in so many ways. That's beautiful. That's so clever. I didn't have that privilege to have 2 rooms. I could only afford one. But yeah, it's great. I don't know. I ain't got a clue. Is Moldavia alone considered too strong? Well, it's not really considered too strong. It's only considered too strong because so many people talk about it. It's not strong. It's just powerful. It's not too strong. It's just a powerful crystal that works in a very powerful way, and it works on chakras which make you. It's awakening within you. It's clearing. It's cleansing within you. So to me, it's not deemed too strong. It's doing the work. I mean, people completely spend all their life wanting to be healed, or they want to become psychic. And then as soon as you give them something that actually does that work, then they start complaining and moaning, saying everything's going wrong, or it's too strong. It's like, and I guess there's a reason why people say be careful for what you wish for. Well, that's something that is probably the number one question, but it's also the major factor to psychic and healing work. Because most people who come here don't believe that they've got the ability. Some do, but most of them don't. And then they're in the mind. And the point is, it isn't really trusting in it, but more so allowing it. Because when you start doubting yourself, you block yourself. And when you just stop doubting and just allow things to happen, then that's when the magic happens. So, yeah, the biggest battle we have is between the heart and mind. If we listen to the heart and shut the mind up, then the word trusting doesn't even enter into your thought anymore, because you know that it is. I often used to say to people when they come here and they'd have they start healing, and then all of a sudden they start crying and put their arms around me, and I'd be hugging them, and I'd say, now do you feel it? And they go, yeah. And say, well, never ever doubt ever again, and know that you are the healer, and this is it, that's it. Now move forward and never doubt your way again. I don't doubt anything that I do, but I know I have to work hard when I'm doing my psychic work, but I don't doubt the work. I truly don't doubt anything that I do, but I have to work hard to get into the place of emptiness, of clearing the ego and the thoughts and the worries, and clear that, And I often say to people, if you're using the cards, right, use it on, like, you get some tarot readers who get very aggressive. You need to take this serious. Well, yeah, you do, but in a light-hearted way. Because if I put a set of cards here and I'm looking at somebody, I'm not like going to say, let's see if you're going to die. I'm going to say, oh, let's see what we see. And it's a positive mental attitude is a beautiful starter, without fear, no fear. We just do it for fun, and fun can be pretty awesome. So, yeah. Yeah, I think I did a full video on spiritual tools the other night, and the tools that I work with is the only tools I recommend. So that's a video that I did the other night. So I can't really say anything more than that. Yeah, well said. Okay. Well, it was an hour, but an hour and 17 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this. This was just to like get you all, yeah, going again and get you talking. And we have a place on Telegram where people chat on there. So if you want to go and find Mark Bajerski on Telegram, then there's like, you can all chat with each other on there, and you can help each other if you want. If you can get there. So there is like one Telegram here. I don't know if you can see it. It says Mark Bajerski. You can see the picture, right? But once you've got there, you can go to the chat, because I don't really know how it works, but there's a chat that everybody goes to, and the chat is this one here. So if you look at that, it says Mark Bajerski, and look at the photo. The photo is me sat by the water, and there's 700 and some members there. The other one's got 4,000 and some, but like all night long, you guys chat away, and it's beautiful, and you talk to each other, and it's really nice. So maybe somebody here can send a link to it before you go, if anybody's on there. Who's on? I think it's Peter's on there. Maybe Peter could send a link, or somebody who's on Telegram to send a link so you can all chat, because you chat all night on there. That's lovely. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this small chat tonight. I try and do an hour, not too long, because I get a bit tired these days, especially working with crystals all day long as well as doing everything else. And now Lily needs to go for a walk. But I hope you enjoyed this little psychic chat and just helps you a little bit. I'm wishing you all a lovely evening. So take care of yourselves. Good night, everybody.